Today is chapter 19, Inherited Patterns with Michael Rice. And all the sessions are recorded to support those watching it publicly. Support others in these teachings. I'll just quickly share what we've got on this week. So we've just got children's meditation tomorrow and our normal weekends of Insanity, Joe Dispenza meditation, Qigong and office session. And today we have the power of subconscious mind. The group for the in-person event have chosen Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Joe Dispenza. So we're doing that next month for in-person. And Michael will be with us, don't have a date, but he will be with us on the second Thursday and the fourth Thursday of each month for the next chapters.
Yes.
And next Thursday, we'll have a Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, chapter 6 for monthly Joe Dispenza's book club. And for our main online monthly book club, it's The Universe Has Your Back by Gabriella Bernstein on the 6th of June. We do have a WhatsApp group keeping people connected. And Hear My Voice Book Club runs non-profit events, so everyone can take part regardless of their financial status. Any donations will go into supporting Michael in his teachings, so if anyone feels inspired to or would like to support Michael in his teachings, you can do that on his whyagain.org donations. So Michael Rice is the founder and director of Heartland Self-Healing Centre. Michael lectures and teacher on health and healing and true meaning of true forgiveness. Michael is married to Jeannie Rice, who will hopefully bring her book to the session eventually of Healing Generations, One Breath at a Time. So that'll be coming soon. Would you like to share anything, Michael? Or would you like me to do any more before we go into it?
Well, I guess what's on, I just actually finished doing a series of workshops. First time I've been on the road in 5 years. It was kind of cool to be back in the saddle in front of a live audience. And so it's a delight to be here, and we'll see what unfolds, questions, answers, thoughts, and ideas as we get into our topic from West.
Oh, you muted?
Say again?
Oh, you just muted slightly then. You muted yourself.
I don't have a camera available, but so we're going to have to do it audio tonight.
That's okay. And I shall put in the chat how to find all Michael's details, because he does do a radio station as well, which I was on this afternoon, well, this evening for me, which I highly recommend joining or checking it out, because you can go in and ask Michael any questions as well. He had a lot of questions today in his radio station today.
That was today.
Say again, sorry.
I said I thought there was some really good conversation on the radio show today on the Mindshifters radio.
So throughout the session, if any questions come up, you can ask questions as well. But remember to breathe, because holding your breath is exactly how you acquire past about something and carry it with you. Holding your breath attaches the pain of an experience to a reality in the mind. So remembering, if anything comes up, any triggers, to breathe. So just about the previous chapters, it was about Richard, a successful man in his late 30s, following a breakup of another marriage, had contacted Michael. Richard felt his life was a mess and was desperate and wanted Michael's help. In the previous chapter 18, clarifying love as to love, you must first straighten out your definition of the word. Take a look at the false perceptions we hold that we say, well, it must be truth as it's normal. We looked at how our triggers were there to create a healing opportunity. So that was in the previous chapters, and all the chapters can either be found on my YouTube or Michael's YouTube. Just going to put that in the chat as well.
And how are you doing, Yinka?
Yes, I'm good. I'm becoming very aware of what's going on inside my mind and body. It's definitely bringing up that kind of level of awareness, noticing patterns and behaviors.
Cool. I think it's great that you're doing the worksheets early in the morning with folks. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, we did one this morning as well. So then we'll do one tomorrow morning as well for this session. And it's great
5
to do
a.m.
it
club.
the 5 a.m. It's great to do it so early because you're kind of catching the mind as soon as you've woken up before it's gone into all the drama, and you can kind of, for me, it like really helps me to focus. So Richard and Michael reviewed some of his family's dynamics. Richard had processed several issues he had with his mother. Michael suggested that it might be valuable to consider that his mother probably came by her behavior or off-the-mark patterns the same way he did. Richard acknowledged that she was very likely never saw what she did as abuse, but rather as a way to protect herself as he had.
So this is an interesting point. We talk about a power person dynamic. A power person does a behavior and the child perceives it as some form of abuse, and not realizing that when that power person dynamic is instilled in the mind, decades later does the same behavior, but they don't call that behavior abuse as they did when their power person did it to them. They perceive it as, their mind builds it as, oh, this is a way to protect myself, or this is a way to win, or this is a way to come out on top, doing exactly the same behaviors and never being cognizant of it. As you become aware of it, you realize that it is the same behavior, especially when under great deals of stress. Basically, there are 3 behaviors possible once a power person dynamic is instilled in a mind. And the behaviors people do are based in the level of stress they're under. So when there's little or no stress, people do what they did to get along with their power person. When stress starts to build, they do what they did to resist and survive with their power person. And then when they become ultra stressed, they'll do what their power person did to them that they hated the most. It's just the game that runs the world.
So abuse is one behavior that tends to be transmitted from generation to generation. So facing and processing through the abusive patterns is the best way to stop behavior from being passed on to our children. And our children.
And basically in this, and our children's children, yes. And basically processing in this work is defined as holding to a space of active present love while allowing something other than love to surface in the mind. When those two things meet, if actual love is present and hidden dynamics come forward, then those hidden dynamics automatically begin to dissolve.
So this work is about taking on that generation for the generations. What you don't deal with will be passed on. That you are willing to face, sort out, and heal will no longer affect family dynamics. The pattern then stops with you.
You have to remember in the ancient Aramaic where we talked about that idea of sin not being some terrible evil thing like the Greeks have presented it, but rather as simply an archery term that means off the mark. And whenever I engage in an energy, and off the mark means one that does not support my physiology, something that is of a disintegrative nature to me, then that energetic pattern tends to destroy. As I bring the old energetic patterns forward again in the presence of active love, that's when they dissolve and I'm freed of it.
So just taking a look for yourself, do you have any generational dynamics, issues from your past that keep resurfacing, different faces, same issues that you'd like to take a look at? Maybe to jot it down as you go through the session.
Now, do you have a why is this happening to me again issue? Do you have a why are they doing this to me again type issue? Or why am I doing this to myself again? Can show up in several different forms.
And if you want to, you can put it in the chat and we can be specific to that area as well. I just had a thought as well. We've not done a worksheet for a while, as in for this one. Maybe if somebody was willing for the next session, we could go into doing a worksheet.
It's probably time for us to do that again, yes. If we can get a volunteer.
If anyone's willing to volunteer, just let me know. I know it's been really helpful for those that have volunteered before.
For sure.
So if you could write that down and just keep it in mind as you go through the session. So Richard's asking, does that mean my daughter has the same issues as I do? You mean if I heal, she won't have to deal with them? Richard asked with enthusiasm. It is very probably that she will grow up reacting in the same way to the same issues as you do. I'd be willing to bet that you have unintentionally treated her in a similar fashion to the way your mother treated you, Michael offered.
And he had shared earlier in the book that mom was a challenge for him. Mom was the one who gave him opportunities to learn forgiveness, was his power person.
There's the image from the book, the genetic chain of abuse. When we deny or suppress fear and hostility, we tend to impose it on others and both pass it on to teach it to succeeding generations.
And it's interesting, you know, we live in a culture, we all come in the same way. If you hold a newborn child and you tap into that newborn, what you have is active present love. And when you realize that, and then these generational patterns come along, it's like you can see the hammer in the child in this instance. The presence of love is being dragged or driven into the unconscious. And the objective here is to undo the energetic patterns that have overlaid awareness of ourselves as love and literally remove them so that all that's left is the true human life that we are.
So what family issue that have been inherited through your generation would you like to work on today to heal? Remember to breathe. So what family issue that have been inherited through your generation would you like to work on today to heal? Because we may recognize the pattern, but do we actually want to take responsibility to heal it?
So can this be something then that not necessarily that I then do to others, because I don't repeat like what my mother did to me at all to others, but I do it to me. Because can it play out like that as well?
Absolutely. Same thing. Yeah.
Okay.
If again, there are three behaviors relative to the power person. One, when there's little or no stress, I do what I did to get along. Stress starts to build, what I did to resist and survive. And then when ultra stress, I'll do what my power person did to me that I hated the most. And so if the abuse was toward me from the power person, then the tendency will be, even when the power person isn't there, is to do the same abuse to myself or to someone else.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Quite interesting that, isn't it? It's like, because you're saying that, well, I don't do it to others, but I do it to myself, kind of like, that's okay. That I just do it to myself and nobody else.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, oh yeah, it's all right. I'm good because it's only me I do it to. Yeah, totally. Dismiss self. Yeah.
Well, and usually when abuse comes from a power person, there's also a message that comes with it. And there are actually two ways to receive the message. One can be that the power person directly speaks the message to us. And usually the early messages that we get are something along the lines of, you're broken, you're not good enough, there's something wrong with you. That's the sort of message. Or it can be passive. That's an active power person message. Or it can be passive. Based on the power person's behavior, the child makes it up for themselves. Oftentimes the message is the same, because based on the behavior, the conclusion of the child is, oh, I must be broken.
Yeah, because I think like my background, like my
Can you say that again,
Go
Tracy?
ahead. We lost you there, Tracy.
Oh, she's frozen.
Is it cold over there?
It's warm over here. So we've actually got summer.
Nice. What, for 3 days now?
Yeah, it's been for about 3 days, which has been really nice. I think she's back. You see me moving. You back, Tracy?
well, I went in the tunnel there.
Yes.
Well,
Welcome. Glad you're back.
missed a moment there. What happened? Did I miss anything?
We missed what
No,
you.
we were just waiting for you.
Oh, sorry. You missed what I said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, what did I say? Oh, I said, yeah, because my parent was like passive aggressive, so it was very confusing to me. But I then put that whole thing together as that's what love is, to go, here's something nice, here's abuse, here's something nice, here's abuse. It was sort of kind of like this. And then so I guess, yeah, I kind of learned to the abuse was hidden from me. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
So I guess why I do it to me and not notice.
Good thing to bring from the unconscious awareness into awareness, and then that's a place to do some of the forgiveness work to remove those dynamics from your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I find helpful going through this process is the acknowledging that I'm willing to heal. Because with Michael's teachings, it sometimes gets very messy and unpleasant before it comes out to that clearing.
Yeah, on the way out, the energy is going to look the same as it did on the way in. That's one of the, I think, most important things to realize about this process is that, when an untoward energy comes in, it creates symptoms. If we hide it from ourselves, if we deny and dissociate from it, then those symptoms remain somewhere in tissue, literally where the mind is, where the energy stored. And then in the healing process, as the energy moves out, symptomatically, it's going to look the same. And it's willingness that really accelerates the healing process.
Yeah, because I had a huge resistance to coming to this tonight because it's been coming up. I've been journaling in the park today about all this stuff, and I was like, I'm not going tonight. I've had enough. And then I was like, okay, that's probably the night I need to go then.
Glad you're willing. It's interesting, in the Aramaic language, the word Satan has nothing to do with a dude with a red suit, a tail, and a pitchfork. The word Satan means the resistor, one who misleads. And when we hold our breath and go into physiological resistance, that quite literally in the Aramaic context is being trapped in Satan.
It's been an eye-opener learning, because like today on your radio station talking about translation and interpretation, people are
Right.
interpreting is very different than people actually translating the word. And it's really
Exactly.
looking at what are people interpreting. Is it an interpretation or is it a translation of the word?
Right. And most of the key words that were translated or that were taken out of the Aramaic were interpreted incorrectly by the Greeks. If the man Yeshua sat in most centers that talk about him, he would say to them, "This is all Greek to me."
So are we all willing to do the work today to heal?
Yes, I am.
Me too.
Yes, I am. Yes.
Good.
So as you heal the issues with your mother, not only will your relationship with her improve, most likely your relationship with your daughter will shift as well. Michael reassured Richard. Sometimes my daughter avoids me like the plague, and I always wondered why. Now I think I know. She used to tell me I treated her poorly, but I never listened. I didn't see it that way. I guess my mum didn't either. Come to think of it, my mum used to brush me off the same way my daughter says I do to her. It feels like a relief to know that I can do things differently and develop a more loving relationship with her. You know, I'm feeling pretty good. I think I might be feeling that empowerment feeling you were talking about earlier. For the first time in a long time, I'm feeling like I can do something about my life, Richard informs Michael. Richard, we were talking about your issues around your mother. Would you be willing to look at that? Asked Michael. So are you willing?
Willingness is the cosmic grease.
Mhm. So are you willing to take a look inside yourself at your generational issues you wanted to heal? Not outwardly, but inwardly. Because sometimes it's very easy to go, I'm going to fix that, I'm going to heal because I'm going to sort them out. But are you willing to go inside and address it?
That's the biggie.
Because they're two very different things.
For sure.
I like it when you talk about the one, is it the one blame religion?
One world, universal religion and blame.
Yeah.
Yes, most people in the world today are very devoutly religious on that count.
And doing this work's really helped me see how easy it is to look outside and want to fix everybody else rather than address what's actually going on inside.
Well, I don't have the contact at all with the family, so I have to do it in me.
Mhm.
It's kind of it's forcing me to do it inside me, which is a good thing, I think. So
There's nobody else to blame. So have you ever thought that living with you might be like walking through a minefield? Michael inquired. No, of course not, Richard raised his voice as he replied. Are you feeling defensive, Richard? Perhaps a little, wouldn't you be? Replied Richard. Probably. I want to be clear that the purpose of bringing the things to the surface to gently look. Sorry, let me read that again. Probably. I want to be clear that the purpose of bringing things to the surface is to gently look, own them, and let go of what does not work. I'm on your team and want to support you in the process, offered Michael. Has anyone ever given you that feedback about a minefield before? Richard did admit that he had been told more than once that living with him was like walking on eggshells. He again affirmed that he had never thought of himself in that way.
And breathe.
Yes, breathe. So similar to Richard's story, is there any area people tell you you are a certain way that resembles the generational issues you want to heal? You just jot that down to take note. Is there any areas people tell you you were in a certain way that resembles the generational issues you want to heal?
There's a wonderful principle in the Course of Miracles that says when you are healed, you are never healed alone. And as you do your work, you open the space for others as well. So it's not just a strictly self-centered thing.
So seldom do we see ourselves as others see us, and most people never take the time to listen to what others are really saying. Truly taking the time to listen to others provides us with the opportunity to look differently at the unconsciously driven behavior, as does being aware of our responses to what others say. And a key thought, your relationships and your words are mirrors of your mind.
It's important to remember that perception, the world that most people look at that they think is outside of them, is actually a product of what's happening in the mind. And all perception is autobiographical. If we live in denial, our mind makes pictures of other people out of our issues. And until we open that unconscious dynamic in ourselves and clean it out, then we'll always see our issues. I mean, literally, our eye will show us pictures of other people with our issues attached. When I begin to do my work, I can change that dynamic and start to remove those energetic patterns from myself rather than playing them out with person after person after person after person. And it takes willingness.
So is it that you attract the people with the same dynamic, or that it doesn't matter who comes in, you will just have that filter?
Well, there'll be a tendency. One of the things I talk about in my workshop on healing through relationships is that what most people call love relationships are really relationships based in matching bags of garbage. There's a resonance, there's an energy exchange between people that creates an attraction. And what we'll tend to do is attract the person in who knows exactly how to bounce off of the parts of me that need healing, and vice versa. I'll do the same for them. So it becomes a wondrous opportunity, unless people live in denial and blame, when somebody can give me the look and bring up my pain that I don't even know is there, then I have the opportunity to work through that. But if I keep doing the blame game, then I'm going to tend to just, well, we'll move from this is a love relationship to, oh, the honeymoon is over.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Thank you again. Thank you.
And the honeymoon is over just means that I've now put my pain into my brain's image of you, and my power person dynamic I substitute in my mind for relationship with you. And so people are basically, when they get to the point where enough is triggered into activity, they're really, I mean, they look at the picture generated by their mind and it looks like that person, but that person is now clothed metaphorically with all the dynamics I haven't resolved with my power person. So I'm really back in relationship with my power person.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Thank you.
Delighted.
Another question, are you willing to take responsibility for your generational issues and patterns you have been living? Offering a place for them to be healed through you.
And a way to tell if you're doing that is, what that looks like, what the projection of it looks like is, you made me mad. So if I've got mad moving in me, that's an opportunity for me to go, oh, there's some mad in me, rather than putting my mad part into my brain's image of you and believing that you're the cause of my anger or my sadness or my fear or my rage or whatever it is, loss, whatever the dynamic is. All perception is autobiographical. Every picture that shows up in your mind might be accurate about the person you're looking at. Maybe they actually did do whatever that is. You can't really tell by your perception. But when you can always know by your perception is that when there's pain or fear of some sort attached to a picture your mind is showing you, then that picture is true about you and it's your work to clean it up.
Just doing this work with you, Michael, it's really got me aware of how I say to myself sometimes, well, I didn't do what they did. But now it's like, even if I think that I didn't, what it's been that willingness to go inside and take a look at what actually is going on.
Yeah. And if whatever they've done has triggered something in me that I use the voice I don't do, that's the root of my pain. That's what I need to look at and work through.
So Michael spoke about making a practice of searching for Richard patterns of unconscious driven behavior, and reminded him of the open conversation or misconversation about responsibility. Recall, Richard, we each experienced the same actuality. We each heard identical words, but your listening spoke to you of fault and blame, while mine informed me of response ability. Remember the upset that surfaced for you and how much hostility you expressed. Actually, I didn't express nearly as much as I felt at the moment, Richard informed Michael.
Thank goodness.
I certainly have experienced this with you, Michael, where when sometimes you say certain things, I go into that blame. He's blaming me for this. It's not my fault. Rather than let me have a look at my responsibility.
Well, Yinka, I've never had anybody who's had to do a worksheet on me.
And it's because I've done the sessions with Jens, being able to see it in somebody else when they say he blamed me for this, or they've messaged to say he made it my fault and it's not my fault. And it's like, and then I'll go back over the recording and it's like, he did not say that at all. But it is going back to listen that you actually hear what the person said.
Every picture that we see with our mind, we think we're looking through our eyes at the outer world. We're not looking through our eyes at the outer world. The pictures generated by our brain are the pictures we think we see with our eyes are painted on the inside of our eyeballs, and they're generated by our brain. Listening is the same. We think we heard what somebody else said, but listening happens in the brain. What we hear is generated by the brain. If the response is one based in some form of pain, trauma, or hostility, then the work is to remove the pain, the trauma, or the hostility and be finished with it. So I no longer listen through those kinds of filters anymore.
And just another question, when you identify like the themes, and then like what I notice is that there is a particular part of my body where I know that that's where this is, because I come
Right.
back to it time. And I think that when I've done this work, I've dealt with it on some level, and then something will trigger that part of the body. So I know it's still there. How do you get it out when it's that deep? How do you get it from that part of the body out there?
Every tool we teach.
Yeah.
Every tool. If you went back, we've been doing our Mind Shifters radio show for 14 years now. There are over 5,000 hours in the archives. If you went back to the first radio show we did 14 years ago and listened to every radio show from then till now, I would do nothing else but give an answer to that question.
Okay.
It's every tool that we've got.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because you said it on your radio show today, having the tools to be able to go within it to heal, and I don't know, for some reason today it really resonated with that, being able to go within yourself and have those tools to heal.
That's it. Yes. I think I brought it up today in concert with Carl Jung's statement, where he says, those who look without dream. And while we're looking at quite literally pictures painted on the inside of our eyeballs and we think we're looking out there, we're literally stuck in a projection of the mind called a dream. It's no different than a dream in the sleep state. And then he says, those who go within awaken. When I forgive, when I cancel the goal that drives this picture in my mind, this picture based in my pain collapses, and I have a chance to go inside and awaken from the dream by bringing active present love to the part of my mind in pain. And when I enter the practice of bringing active present love to the part of my mind in pain, that part of my mind begins to dissolve. And I'm freed from it, that's all.
And dissolve can sometimes take time, isn't it? Just because it's still there, it's doing its healing process.
Yep.
I keep thinking I'm there, and then something will trigger, and that feeling in that particular bit of the body will just be a jolt, and I'll go, oh my God, it's still there.
That's there.
Yeah.
The mind functions through every cell in the structure, and where we hold untoward energies, that's when the tissue structure suffers diseases.
Yeah.
And as I remove those, then the diseases disappear, those energetic patterns, and the diseases disappear.
Yes. Oh, yes. This is amazing. Thank you so much for answering all my questions. This is helping me so deeply.
Delighted. That's what we'd be here for.
And your questions are going to help somebody else as well, because I'm sure somebody else will have those questions too.
Yeah.
So when upset surfaces, we call it an opportunity to learn, to forgive, an opportunity to learn, to let go of the tendency to blame others for what they trigger in us. Most people tend to experience their mind's interpretation of an event in the world and think that it is what is actually happening. We tend to think ours is the only truth. Like ripples distort an image on the surface of a pond, there is always some distortion of the image output from the mind when we are in upset. The truth cannot be reflected accurately in a disturbed mind. So if I'm clear, on the bottom line of this work is that at every moment we are each experience our own reality, correct?
That's it.
You're saying that our realities are made up of internal information and not caused by the outside event. What we have been trained to think of as an actual event in the world is really happening in our head. And what's happening in our head is distorted by the upset and grievance we hold. Richard asked, looking for confirmation.
Yeah, one of the things, a lot of people try to figure that one out, and you can't figure that one out. But all you have to know is that your mind is producing constructs based in some form of hostility or fear. And once you can acknowledge that to yourself, hostility or fear at the root of perception means that my mind is using corrupt data to build the picture world that I see. And when my mind's using corrupt data, it's lying to me. So I don't need to figure out what Harry did or Mary did or anybody else or what I did. All I need to know is hostility or fear is moving in me. I'm going to apply forgiveness to remove this corrupt data so that I can get back to a corrected mind.
The world repeatedly triggers the realities we hold onto, and when we wonder, why is this happening to me again? Projection is blaming our inner happening on others. When in blame, the tendency is to think the outside event is causing your experience. It is not.
It's a huge piece of learning to recognize that the whole culture has lied to us and we see nothing with our eyes. The eye is a one-way valve. Light energy comes in. That's all. You can't see out of it. Light energy comes in, and according to what that light energy coming in resonates in the mind, the product of that resonance is the picture world that our mind makes up, paints on the inside of our eyeballs, and we've all been tricked into thinking it's out there. And that's just a disability that needs to be overcome. And we need to recognize that if something's moving in me, I'm going to feel it. And if I'm feeling it, it belongs to me, even though my mind can corrupt the picture and make it look like it's somebody else's.
My mind still struggles occasionally with this one. It's like, yeah, but they did this. Do you know, like when somebody does some, but they did that. Of course it's them.
Yes, and they did do that. But that isn't what's happening in my mind. What's happening is in my mind is what my mind is doing. But again, we've been trained in this one world universal religion of blame. Remember, the mind is a strictly evidential device. It only gives you evidence of your own BS. And of course, that's belief system. If you have a different reality for those initials BS, notice that's your reality. My mind has different content, a different reality. And so as long as I say to my mind, show me evidence that they're the problem in my life, my mind will hallucinate all kinds of evidence. Hostility or fear are the indicator that my mind is using corrupt data and hallucinating. And you can verify that for yourself by asking yourself the question, or I'll ask you the question. Has anybody that's here ever been accused of saying something you never said or doing something you never did? Anybody ever been accused?
Yes.
Notice what state of mind the person was in, pardon me, that was accusing you. Were they in love and sweetness, or were they in hostility or fear? It's always hostility or fear. Hostility and fear means the mind is using corrupt data. Now, that's an easy thing to see about other people, but we tend to believe the pictures our minds show us, even when we're in hostility or fear. You got to start questioning it. You got to start recognizing and being honest with yourself. My mind is using hostility or fear, therefore my perception is distorted and it's telling me a lie. I need to correct my mind before I do anything else. And yes, maybe they did do something horrible, terrible, awful, illegal, immoral. But what they did is not the cause of what's moving in me. It may be it is the trigger for what's moving in me. But what's moving in me is moving in me because it's in me. If I don't like it and I want to get out of the experience of it over and over and over again, I have to remove it from its source. Changing them will not remove it. Convincing them they're the problem in life will not remove it.
And also, having no contact with them doesn't remove it, because that's what I
No.
thought would remove it. That's what I thought. And
Nah.
living a different life. And then after so many years, when a person tried to send me a letter, I got a disease process start because it triggered everything again. And that was a 10-year gap. So that made me so
Yep.
realize that I'd not gone in. I'd gone in and done some of it, but I hadn't done all of it. So
Yeah, the geographic here doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've done that as well, Tracy.
Anyway.
You're not alone.
If I just
We've all done that one.
Yeah.
Get rid of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not until years later that you start to see the pattern within other things.
Yeah, because I even said to someone actually today, oh, I've got another friend she does the same patterns as my mother, and then I thought, no, hang on.
Maybe I should do that class this afternoon.
Yeah, maybe we could come tonight.
That's right. It's evening over there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, it's evening here.
Yeah. Cool.
So projection does not work to alleviate pain, because when you pretend the problem's outside, you leave the pain inside and cut yourself off from being able to solve it. The reason running away does not work to put an end to your pain is that you take your painful reality with you. Has moving ever done much to change the quality of your relationships? Avoidance is not the answer. Unfortunately for some of us, we're learning the hard way.
Very much so.
So we talked about the idea that anger does not work and is never justified. We also explored the stresses involved in holding anger in the body and the pain from the tension of keeping falsehoods in place. We consider the possibilities that as these patterns are passed on, they might contribute to what is now thought of as genetically inherited diseases. Is it possible that family disease patterns can be changed, Michael? Richard asked.
Whatever I'm willing to face, I can change. Whatever I'm unwilling to face will keep playing out. I'll keep living in the dream, as Carl Jung said, those who look without dream. I keep building pictures from the content of my mind, and I make all those pictures about other people Now I'm stuck in a dream, and I believe the dream's true out there. Collapse that, go within, and you awaken. You free yourself. And it makes the difference between night and day in your life.
I've been working with like various nutritionists as part of my healing.
Right.
And wasn't getting, you know, was helping a bit, wasn't getting too far. And then I saw a functional medicine doctor who was amazing. And she said to me, you know what, you can do all of the nutritional changes you like, but she said, if you don't deal with a layer of trauma, you're pissing into the wind. And I actually
Oh,
thought,
that's one way to say it.
yeah, I just thought I really like her, you know, she's just
Yep.
told it what it is, you know. So,
Right back in your face, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And today, one of the session that I was doing today, because we were talking about the subconscious mind and who has the advantage of you not knowing this, and it was looking at all the people that have an advantage towards you by you not knowing this. And like for you going to a therapist or any nutritionist, those that do know this certain knowledge can take advantage of those that don't know it, in the sense
That's
that
true.
they could get you to continue paying, pissing in the wind, and keep going on with those same very problems, knowing that unless you address your nutrition's not, it's not going to make that much difference.
No.
Yeah, that's why I had 6 nutritionists and then thought, hang on, something's up here. So yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
We did
So
the subconscious mind today in an in-person session, but that was really interesting looking at who was going to be an advantage to you not having this knowledge.
So yeah, that is not at the outside to search or to look for. That is always inside me. And somebody told me, yeah, you have to ask a nutrition, but I also thought that's not the solution. And
It can help, but it is not going to change the internal dynamic. You have to do that yourself.
yeah,
It can help to give you the vitality and good nutrition. You know, one of the ways people drug themselves is with poor nutrition. So increasing and improving your nutrition can free you of that drug effect, which can help you to more powerfully see what you've been hiding from yourself. But still, you have to deal with that dynamic ultimately.
yeah. But I also see a girlfriend, all her life, she had really good nutrition, but she is so ill. So that nutrition, I see that so clear in her that nutrition did not really change something inside her or
Right.
to go in a better way. And yeah, and
you can eat the most wonderful food in the world, but if you eat it in hostility or fear, you just turned it to garbage.
yeah.
It's just like you can get into a relationship with the most wonderful person in the world, but if you're in hostility or fear, your mind will turn them to garbage. And the key that you can tell whether it's your garbage or not is, are you feeling it? If you're feeling it, even though your mind is tricking you with an hallucination that it's about them, if you're feeling it, it's inside of you. And that's where the work has to be done. Otherwise, again, stuck in the dream. Another statement that Carl Jung makes is, he says, until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will direct our lives and we will call it fate.
Michael, I don't know that I think that does not belong here, but about dreaming, that's I tried to find out through my dreams what I am unconscious about, and I discover a lot of things. And what would you say? I don't know if that is now is wrong here. But I am so curious about that because that the dream is from myself. That's really from my inner, and that is
Yes,
something precious.
that can be helpful. I mean, analyzing your dreams can be helpful. There's actually a course we do where we teach it. However, the more direct route to healing is the process of forgiveness, of constantly, consistently, persistently, when you're in pain, collapsing the construct of your mind and getting to go inside and look at what's underneath it and clean it up.
Mm. Yeah. No, that, yeah. Then
Go for it, Yinka.
We're just going to hold a space of conscious, active, present love while unresolved issues surface and shift any energy patterns. So you want to just close your eyes and allow yourself to become quiet. With your awareness focused inside, think of that which inspires you, the clearest, strongest, most powerful love you are capable of feeling.
And breathe.
And I'm just going to open the front door because my daughter's just knocking on the window.
Cool. Go ahead.
If you just want to take a nice deep breath in. And exhale. So for anyone who has done this work, knows that the events that follows a new level of empowerment is empowerment is a healing crisis. It is at this point in the process that many people become filled with self-doubt about their ability to truly heal their pain. For some, the process seems too hard, too complicated, for some, too simple, and for others, the pain seems too deep. This sounds so hopeless. If all of my pain is inside of me, how can I ever hope to get away from it? Why are we not all taught as children that we create our own reality? How will I ever work this out in my relationships?
Well, there's an old story about how you eat an elephant, and the answer is one bite at a time. There's also an interesting line in the Course in Miracles that says, you think it's outside of you. If it were outside of you, you'd really be in trouble. The fact that it is inside of you, and therefore you can work through it.
So remember, these feelings will pass. The surfacing of hopelessness is an opportunity to deal with that reality in your mind. You are at least learning these things now. Most people go through their entire lives without ever discovering what is going on, without ever having these tools. So you are at least learning these things now.
mm.
I'm sure some of us may even know most people go through their entire lives without ever discovering what is going on without ever having these tools.
one of my early mentors used to say that a million people live and die every century and never even know they've lived. Never raise their heads up above their own unconscious dynamics.
So key thought, upset is an opportunity to learn, forgiveness, and to let go of blame. I like it in the worksheet when it says punishment and blame are not my friends.
Yes.
But they did that. And then but punishment and blame are not my friends.
Yeah.
There's like a part of me that wants them to be punished in some way.
This is the punishment planet, and it's time for punishment to end. The only reason you want to punish is because your power person punished you. And under stress, you'll do what they did to you that you hated the most. There is never any reason to punish anyone.
Wow. A question is, yeah, but the punishment does not need to be like some. My parents did hit me, or the punishment can be more subtle, right? That
A thousand things.
ignore me or
Isolate people. Isolate people. Leave them alone. That's one of the worst points out. A lot of people will.
You just broke off.
Yeah.
I just wait for him to come back.
I just continue a little bit because I thought I was never punished, but I did not notice that the punishment is not just they are yelling at me or something that never happened, but the ignoring or the emotional punishment. I did not notice that it is a punishment, and I think Michael would say that is a punishment.
Yeah.
But I not. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree, Corey, because I think I had so much neglect, and that was a huge punishment. And then now what I do is punish myself all the time. So it's treated as punishment, even though it was neglect.
I've got Michael. Yeah, I've got Michael back. Just wait for him to connect.
I'm not sure what happened there. Just lost it.
So just to say that people mentioned, the Corey was mentioning the subtle punishment of kind of not, is it like rejection of it, or what was the word you used? But not,
yeah, that's the worst punishment there is. They've built prisons where each person is in solitary confinement. And what they found was when they did that, the people who were in solitary confinement went insane. And sadly, there are still prisons here in America that were built for solitary confinement, and they're still using them, even though they know that's the result that it's going to produce.
Because you're locking them up with their own, if there is something in there that needs cleaning out or, healing for them, you're locking them up with their own disturbance, isn't it?
Exactly. And they project on themselves.
And I mean, how can I see my parents then in that new, more aware eyes that they did that, and not to I do not blame them, but still there is something there is something in me which perhaps I deny.
It's called a power person dynamic.
Power person dynamic.
And remember, when ultra stressed, we'll do what our power person did to us and we hate it the most. So if what your power person did was blame you, then when you become ultra stressed, you'll blame you. And the beat goes on without them even being there.
Mm. For that's now new for me.
Major stuff.
Mm.
We'll go. Michael reminded Richard of his question he had asked earlier. Why we're not taught, we were not taught this as children. So Benjamin Franklin made a statement that sums it up perfectly. You will observe with concern how long a useful truth may be known and exist before it is generally received and practiced upon. Are you able to expand that a bit more, Michael?
Let's just read it once more.
So you will observe with concern how long a useful truth may be known and exist before it generally received and practiced upon.
So we all know the destructive effects of blame. Let's just use that as an example. We all know that. But who knows how to free themselves from blame? Nobody. Anybody without the forgiveness tool, once blame's instilled in mind, it's going to tend to carry on. So it's having enough brain cells to move away from something that is known to be destructive and the tools to be able to do that.
And I suppose it's the tools to be able to see it as well, because sometimes we know it, but we don't really know it.
Exactly.
Certain things that I know logically, and I think, yeah, but I don't really know it in myself.
A lot of brain cells in conflict. You go back in the ancient teachings, they said a house divided against itself cannot stand. If I know one thing in my head, but a different thing in my heart, there's going to be a conflict. And the heart dynamic will always win.
So I have good news and bad news. The reason for your distress in your new level of empowerment, your pain signals, the opportunity to be aware of patterns that do not work and heal them. That's the good news. You may be asking, shouldn't the new level of empowerment make me feel better? Definitely. But first, the blocks to the empowerment being actualized in your life must be surfaced and healed. Everything unlike your empowerment must be forgiven.
Face it and let it go.
And that's the bit of facing it, because I've noticed when I'm doing such a thing in your stuff, there's some stuff I really don't want to have to face, and I really have a sense of, I just want to get under the covers and hide.
Yeah.
Stay
Yeah,
there.
that's the game of the world. I want to get under the covers, hide, and blame somebody else.
It's easy. So there's a question in the chat from Nikki. How does all this relate to climate crisis and eco-anxiety that so many of us are feeling? How can we forgive what humanity is collectively doing to our home.
That's the worksheet. That's what this work is all about. That's how it's done. And nobody, my offering would be, nobody on the planet has ever been upset about climate crisis. But people have all kinds of upset in their minds. And if climate crisis comes along, it's a handy topic. They can project their upset into it. If you want to heal what's going on the planet in terms of crisis, climate problems, first deal with the trauma and pain you have in yourself that you project into that, so that you can bring a healed mind of love to the climate situation. Then you'll know what to do, and your activity will be 10 times stronger than otherwise.
Mhm. Yeah.
People say, oh, I'm really angry at Joe or Harry or Bill. No, you've never been angry at anybody. You just have anger in your mind, and you can put it into your brain's image of Joe or Harry or Bill or climate or somebody or nobody, or even yourself. There's never anger at anything. That's a lie we tell ourselves in order to project. It's just anger or sadness or fear or rage or guilt, whatever it is. And when you start owning it, you can throw it out. But as long as you keep putting it into your brain's image of others, and it's hidden from you and it's unchangeable. That guarantees the why is this happening to me again experience.
It always surprises me that when I do the worksheet, it's never for what I think I'm doing the worksheet for.
Yep.
Something behind what I think it is on the sit. Well, or this happened, and of course it's that. And then I do worksheet, and it's so not.
Totally different. Yeah.
And one thing I really like about the worksheet is you can't deny it. You can't deny what you see in yourself when you see it.
Right.
Stuff when I get taught other things, it's I can question it, but once I see it in myself, that's a different level. That's like you can't.
Yeah.
deny.
You can't unsee it.
Yeah, even if I want to.
Cool. Go for it.
You've taken the wrong matrix pill, you see.
Yeah.
There you go.
I think this is the last slide, actually. So recall that the key to the process and healing is holding the space of love. So just taking another moment to close your eyes and allow yourself to become quiet with your awareness focused inside. Think of that which inspires in you the clearest, strongest, most powerful love you are capable of feeling. And breathe. So in next month's chapter, which is chapter 20, is Healing Crisis. And it's on 23rd of May.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's a fun session.
Yes.
Hmm.
Because I think this one is, well, they're all really helpful, but will be really helpful because I know so many people that are getting ill at the moment, but are doing a lot of work on themselves, internal work, and it's like, what if they're just going through a healing crisis because they're thinking they're taking 10 steps back, and it could.
Yeah, willingness is the cosmic grease.
Yeah.
And being willing to go through the painful part of the healing.
Yes.
I think we do have this image that healing's going to be really sweet and lovely and yay, we're fluffy and
It is not Dr. Feelgood.
and it's like I always try and imagine it like an infected cut. You've got to get the gunk out, and you've got to experience the pain of getting the gunk out.
Yep, that's it.
You don't want that to repair with the gunk inside, because then it goes
Right.
into the stream and everything else through your body. Whereas if you take the time to get it out and experience the pain for a moment rather than generations to come.
Yep. Yep. The brave die once, the coward 1,000 times. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us. We'll be extending love in your direction, holding this space. Remember to tap into the radio show if you can. The radio show is now also broadcast on Podbean. It's an app that you can download on your phone, Podbean. It's a free app. You can find Mindshifters Radio there, and then you can actually call into the show. We're not fully transitioned to Podbean. I don't know if we're going to or not, but we are using it concurrent with Mindshifters Radio because we've had some challenges with it. So you might want to just download Podbean, again, Podbean, as an app, and find Mindshifters Radio on it and join us for the show. In the meantime, everybody, have the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. Blessings.
Awesome. And I shall close
Thank-
out.
Thank you so very much. Really
You
appreciate
are
it.
very welcome. Delighted and honored.
you.